Would like to bow your heads for the invocation by Mary Ann.
Heavenly Father, we come here today to serve the people of our town and to thank you for the beauty and the wonder that we experience here. Please guide our thoughts and lead us as we make decisions that are in the best interest of the people of our town. Amen.
Amen. Okay, item number 3, the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Go ahead, Steve.
based on some additional research following the Lake Advisory Board meeting on the 5th of June, and based on their motion during that meeting, I've prepared an info paper that I provided to Mark and Dean and also to all the people at the bench, and also to Andy for the record, that there's several questions and issues to be resolved yet regarding commercial boat slips and moorings. There's a lot of issues and things to be answered. There's taxes and stuff to be looked at as to who pays what, where, and how. Based on all that, we are not ready to vote on that. We're not ready to actually, I mean, we could entertain a lengthy discussion, and I'm sure a lot of folks are here to speak to that, but I think it would really be a poor use of our time tonight. Everybody would be afforded the opportunity at such time when that does come up, but there's still a lot of things to be answered. So I recommend we delete that from item 7, unfinished business from tonight, and defer it to our next Marine Commission meeting in September. September. That's my motion, is that we remove that item and move it to September.
It's a motion made. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bob. Any other discussion about it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. For those who, there were probably some people here who were here to talk about it. I know they can talk about it again 3 months from now. Is there anybody that would like to make a few comments? If it's keeping it within like a 2-minute type limit, so we don't run into tonight's meeting. Yeah, Joyce, you're on the, so.
Yeah.
So, well, then we'll move, with that accepted, can I hear approval of the agenda with that modification?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Bob.
I'll second it.
Second by Mary Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we move into public forum. And again, Joyce, would you want to come forward now? Oh my golly, look at all that paper.
I'm 590 Trail, Lake Lure, and I'm president of Lake Lure Village Resort Property Owners Association. And we have, you know, as you can imagine, we have some concerns over the commercial fees that was discussed at the last meeting. So I won't take any time tonight, but what I have written a letter to y'all. And so rather than me sit here and read it to you, I think I would just like to pass this out to you for you to consider when you're considering everything else. That's okay?
Very good, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I did want to add, and I don't want to demean or make light of all the hard work and discussion that the Lake Advisory Board has done on this subject. And they have entertained this issue at least twice, maybe 3 times. And I appreciate the fact that they did come up with a recommendation, and it was a tough recommendation. And I appreciate the courage it took you to do so.
Very good.
Fran had also has some other paperwork here, a petition, and we have some other comments from some of our members.
Why don't- I'll take it and we'll make copies and get it to everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. What was her name? Joyce. All right. Anybody else, even though they hadn't signed up, like to say something?
She's the president.
Hearing none, moving to item number 5, the public hearing and adoption of resolution number 17-6-13 of the Town of Lake Lure Marine Commission amending lake use regulations.
As a preface, if I may, as a preface to the hearing, 3 months ago, I asked that we task the LAB, Lake Advisory Board, to revise the lake use regulations. There were several things in there that seemed to be out of date, and then a lot of other issues with it. And as the commission can see, if you're looking at your copy of the regulation in your packet and all the red, how many changes were made, and so on. And the Lake Advisory Board has done a superb job. There may still be a couple of things in talking to you today, Commissioner Cameron and Mr. Mayor. And then I found one item in the index. So I wanted to lead in with that for the hearing for anybody that wishes. The primary changes in here regards the tour boat rules that were presented to us in June or in March, and they were deferred. Those are all in here. There's several other changes regarding some rules. There's now a lead-in with an intent and the definitions. And a lot of the definitions were looked at very closely, and some revised, some not. There's just some rules that were deleted altogether because it's just like there was a whole section on launch ramps that required permits, but didn't really say how they were issued or how often they had to be updated or what the standards were, and that entire section was deleted. That's basically it. I just wanted to give you that as a lead-in to what we're looking at and why. So,
Okay.
Do you want, my comment was, and this is a lot of work, and I'm very happy to see it updated. I only got one item I thought should be added under 4.04, manner of operation of boats.
what page, please?
That'd be page 13, item C, talking about a person age 16 and younger. One thing, and I may have missed it in the book somewhere else, but something I feel like should be under that C section would be, it's my understanding they're required training, Dean?
If they're under the age of 26, they're required to have a boater safety card.
Could we not add that in here under that paragraph? Because it says age 16. I didn't find anywhere that they had a requirement for the training in the book. I looked, I may have missed it.
Right.
But I just feel like that would be an important place to put it, would be, if you're 16 to 26, you must have this course, and give them maybe a place where they can get that training or contact you, or
Right.
what we need to do.
We could probably just refer to the state law in that
Right, and just,
category if that would work.
yeah, maybe the state law, and then also mention what it says up to age 26, but then also have a contact number, either yours or somebody at Lake Ops that they can call to find out where to get the training from.
Well, I wouldn't recommend you put a phone number in here because that can change and then you have to amend the
Or just
regulations.
say contact Lake Operations.
Right.
But now, is this something Lake Operations offers? Is this a training that we do?
Well, I can arrange it to be done through the North Carolina Wildlife.
Okay,
That is something that I've talked to them about, of getting certified to be able to teach the classes.
right.
But they said I have to attend one of their classes to do it, and they've not offered the class yet. But
Okay.
at this point, one way or the other, I can get it done here in town through North Carolina Wildlife.
I appreciate, maybe let's put the comment then, like Commissioner Weber said, let's just say, please contact Lake Operations for further details.
So if it has to be between 16 and 26,
Right.
they have to have a class if they're between that age.
Right.
Then this part about unless accompanied by an adult person aged 21 or older is really a moot point.
It is.
Is that a moot point? Can they operate a boat with somebody 21 and not have to have the class?
Right, they know, North Carolina law supersedes our law. And just a couple of years ago, they put in that 26 years old or younger have to have a boater safety card.
Right.
Now, you can be any age as long as somebody's on the boat over 26 and drive, like you can let your grandkids drive while you're on the boat or whatever.
And they don't have to have that course?
No, if you're over 26, you don't have to have the
I
course.
think I'm
and
barely
you
qualified for that.
Well, however, on page 13, What C states is that no person shall allow a minor, a person under the age of 16, to operate a motorized water vessel on Lake Lure unless accompanied by an adult, parentheses, a person age 21 or older.
Right.
That needs to say 26, does it not?
Correct.
Right. And that's why I brought it up. I just wanted to clarify it, and then I'd like to have some place that people could go and say, okay, contact Lake Operations and for further details.
Dean, can't this class be taken online?
It can be, if you take it online, it costs you money. If you take it live, it's free. Go figure. I don't know why.
What, $5-10?
I think it's around $20.
Okay.
But I'm not real sure on that, but I
Okay.
think it's around $20.
Yeah, but they can't take it online, that's,
You can. And the age 16 that it's saying in these lake use regulations,
Right.
that's a Lake Lure thing. That's up to you guys of where you want that, because if, my kids at 13 have passed a boater safety course.
Right.
And according to the state of North Carolina, they can operate a boat on the waters by themselves because they had that boater safety.
At 13.
At 13. I mean, if you can pass the boater safety test and you hold a boater safety card, you can drive a boat. You don't have to be 16. Now, personal watercraft like jet skis and stuff, you have to be 16
Right.
with the boater safety.
But we don't allow those anyways.
Correct.
Except for those that are grandfathered.
So I'm just saying, the 16 in here that's listed in here, that come from this board, or, previous this board. That's not a state law.
Okay. All right.
So C needs to be amended again. It was last amended in February of '07. So if that changes to 26, that would be a current additional amendment.
So, let's see how many more we got, so before we decide whether to defer until the September, wait until then to finish it, or,
That's the only one I had, was that one there.
okay. The one I had in the index, Andy, I had spoken to you about one in the index, but then I noticed under section 3, I'm on page 2, section 3, 3.01,
Right.
we need to correct the title. The title here is entering the waters of Lake Lure, but in the section it says while under impairing substance. So we need to correct the title in the index to match that of the actual paragraph. And
Where are we?
He was on index.
that's page 2 on the index,
And page 7 on the actual, what it says.
Okay.
and then be page 7 in the text. Paragraph 3.01. So you got part of the title in red and the rest of it in black in the section, but that's not in the index.
While under the influence of
Right.
heroin.
That's just a minor housekeeping thing there, so.
So you're going to take the bathing off of that, Steve? Section 3 says bathing beside that in black. So you got
Yeah.
bathing.
What's,
Next, not on the basis.
what's in the book, or in the section, on page 8, 3.01,
Right,
entering the waters of Lake Lure while under the influence of an impairing substance.
Right.
That is the actual title of the section.
Right.
And that's what needs to be in the index.
yes. I see what you're saying,
So.
yeah.
And that's the only one I had. After every Lake Advisory Board meeting on this and copy I'd take chopped up, I'd take to Andy. Andy would integrate a lot of this stuff and get it fixed, and she's done a superb job. Like I said, as you can tell, there's been a heck of a lot of changes in here and fine things, just numbers and stuff, and she's done a great job on it, so.
One other question too, Dean, do you do anything with the E911 signs?
What page were you on, sir?
Well, there's two different things. There are different pages in the booklet, and there's different pages in the ordinance that you handed out. So let me see if, that was distributed to us. Let me see if I can find it. It's item J, under section 4. So I don't know where that is in the, because I have the loose paper that have different numbers on the pages. Owners of lakefront lots having structures thereon shall have the E911 designated address assigned to the property posted in accordance with the code ordinance of the town of Lake Lure, boathouse numbering.
Oh, okay.
So
That's page
shall
10 in
order-
our book.
Okay,
Page 10 in our book, subparagraph J.
Yeah, it's, in the copy that was passed around before, it was 9, but that's okay. It's item J.
That's that black and white sign that we sell up front that people buy to put on their boathouse.
I mean, it was very important when the 911 addressing was, to locate it. But if we're not going to observe it, we're not going to look for it, we're not going to issue warnings or penalties or whatever, I don't know, is it superfluous that we should even have it in here?
We went out on the lake several times and we update it. We go through, because boathouses are built or they're remodeled or whatever. And we'll go through doing an inventory and we'll find out the ones that don't have it. We'll send them a letter, we'll order the signs through here and have them
Okay.
pick these up. And I went out and put a number of them on.
Okay.
People said, well, I can't get it on my boat, I can't get out there.
Right.
And I'll go out and put these signs on their boathouse for them.
Okay, so we should leave it in there, basically,
I think
we have
so.
a process
I
to
think
handle
it's big
it.
for the fire department coming in, daytime's not quite as bad, but at nighttime, being able to see these addresses and where they're at on the lake and stuff, it's a big help.
And it's not just boathouses, it's all lake structures. And that's to help find your property if there's a problem. So, we have the quality control in the requirement where the town should be ordered through the office before any annual water vessel permit may be obtained. Now, what we have not done is we have not enforced that. So if somebody doesn't have that sign, they can still get their annual boat permit, and it was never questioned, never any mention of it. And perhaps that's what should be policed up and properly followed through on.
Well, I've not had a problem.
Right.
Once we went out and did the inventory and sent the letters out to the people, they've done it. And
Right.
the only ones that don't have them now, it's either where they've remodeled or where they're new boathouses. And we'll go out and do the inventory again, and I'll send out a letter to each of those. And if we don't get compliance, then January of next year, there will be a hole in their boat permits if they're not getting these signs and getting them put in place. But in the past, I've never had,
Yeah, you've never actually had to deny any permits or even hold any back, I know.
once I tell them, they get the sign and it's never been an issue.
Okay.
The biggest correction in there was, the way it was written before is that sign had to be posted abutting the lake shore. So it would have been on the back of the structure according to that language. So that's why we changed that language, so.
Okay.
Bob,
Any other thoughts?
Well, you had several you mentioned.
I did, but I feel like I'm nitpicking, and
Well, we need to get them right while we're at it.
well, under A, under section 4.02, and it's on my number 9, it's probably on 10 in the booklet.
Next paragraph? Oh, no, 4.02.
4.02, it's A,
Okay.
it talks about rowing shells, they have to come in rowing shells, dragon boats and crew teams, I think they're greater than 28 feet. I've never known that they had to come in and get approval from the Marine Commission to be on the lake. And now, Mark, do you know how long a shell, an 8-man shell is?
60 feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's 16?
60.
60, yeah, that's what I thought.
Just slightly over the 28 feet.
But this is the new wording. This is the new wording in red. Why did we change to that if we know
I don't
that?
know, I don't have the new, I must not have it right now, but I know we discussed that in the,
Right.
to make allowance for that.
It just says
I
rowing,
thought that we did not want to go in front of the Marine Commission. I thought it was just gonna go to Ron or.
it just says here, rowing shells greater than 28 must be approved by the Marine Commission annually.
And the college teams, well, annually, I don't know that it's been done annually, but I remember when that talked about it, the council waived the fees for them using it and approved their rowing shells to be on the lake. But I've not seen it come up each year when annual will be done.
That's
That's
Mark's
it, I think-
specialty, by the way. I don't know if anybody,
All I know is how long they are.
Yeah, and I think the dragon boats are longer than 28 feet too, and we don't have any approval process. So you know, so something.
How about we say, must be approved by the town manager?
I think that'll work. Just
Just leave the statement in. The basic, 28 feet and less, there's nothing required. But if longer than 28 feet, then would need to be approved by the town manager instead of the Marine Commission.
I don't see a problem with that. Just for those of you that don't know,
Uh-huh.
I mean, my opinion is they've been here for years and years and years and years and years, 6 to 12 teams every year,
Yeah.
and they never cause trouble because they're here in March, and, you know, to me, I'm not sure they really need to be approved.
Do you want to go back to LAB with that one and delete it, revise it, or what?
I'd just say town manager and be done with
I
it.
mean, I'd be good with town manager, I mean, I think everybody else would be too. One of us right there.
And you look at this guy, he actually trained for the Olympics and run two-man.
Yeah, 2 men.
He actually came close to going to the Olympics with two-man
Wow.
boats.
Seriously.
Seriously.
We're in the presence of greatness. Man,
And his name's Stephen Weather.
no.
Well, actually, if Mark hadn't weighed so much, he'd be right there.
So how about we take out the words annually by the Marine Commission and just say it must be approved by the town manager?
That sounds good to
That
me.
sounds good.
The dragon boats each year are kind of approved through the Marine Commission anyway. You know, they go through the commercial model, they get a permit, and they're in the commercial model.
Why are they considered commercial?
I have no idea, it was just the activities, I don't know. But it was written up to be commercial, and they have to buy a commercial permit for each of those boats each year.
Do they use them anytime except the dragon boat races?
Not to my knowledge.
I think they should be treated like.
Which commercial permit would they buy? Which class?
The non-motorized. Sure. Commercial non-motorized.
They really should be treated like the rolling shells. They're out there even less than them, and they're just in the river out here. They don't get beyond the river.
Now, we don't charge permits on the rolling shells, do we?
Not on the rolling shells.
Then maybe we should say rolling shells, well, are we saying, well, okay. Maybe we ought to put dragon boat up there under A, the first line where it says, no pontoon boat, canoe, kayak, or rolling shell. Put dragon boat or any other with, and same thing under 28 feet is okay. Rolling shells and dragon boats greater than 28 feet must be approved by the town manager.
Yep,
That sound all right?
yep,
Yeah, I don't see why we're charging commercial permits on the,
dragon boats.
so we're gonna put dragon boats in there twice.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had. Anybody else?
Hey, that's a good one. Really, good points. Good.
Yep.
I don't have anything else, unless somebody else has got stuff to discuss on it.
Good.
Now, we're still in the public hearing. We did all that so everybody know what's going on.
Right.
So anybody,
What, like to talk about?
anybody, yeah, because we're still in the public hearing on it, right?
So, would anybody like to speak about any of the lake rules, regulations, lake use regulations? Seeing none, we can move on to having a motion to adopt these with the modifications that were mentioned.
I'll make that motion. I'm trying to see what motion I need to make.
Well, we didn't draft an amendment to the paragraph Commissioner Cameron brought up about the 21. We just discussed it. We didn't actually rewrite the language here. Do we want to rewrite that before we approve or vote on it?
I think I think we should have that language semi, or pretty well done, yes. So we all in agreement with it. It won't take a minute. Steve will come up with something real quick. That's his specialty.
Well, what we have there is fine, just add change the age 21 to age 26.
Right.
And then add, what's the requirement, Dane? Dane, what's the requirement on the training? What's it called, boat safety course?
Motor safety course,
And anyone under the age of 26 is required to take that course
yes.
and pass it,
But the state.
in order to operate it without someone older than 26 to be with it.
Correct.
So are we going to leave it at 16 to 26, or are we going to drop it, state law 13 to 26?
Well, let's,
I'm not for sure that it's 13. I don't think they have a low age.
Oh, really?
I think it's whoever can take the course and competently pass the course can do it.
I just mean for our regs, are we going to put a number in, or just say the regs up to 26, having the boat safety course? I'm asking,
I gotta tell you, I think I was driving a boat when I was 10.
we all were,
But it was a lot bigger lake than this too. I think I got a teenager, I think 16 is good,
leave it at 16?
yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm like you, I've driven them all my life, so.
But the
Yeah.
state does not have a minimum of 16, am I
No.
correct?
That's correct.
If we want that, we have to put it in there ourselves.
That's correct. That's why I'm asking. We want to leave it at 16, drop it, raise it? Dean, what do you think?
Well, I
You got
think
kids?
what this is addressing is letting a child drive the boat with someone who is 26 or older on the boat with them.
Right, that's correct. But it's a boater safety class. Once they get that class, they can drive it by themselves.
They can.
Do we need a minimum? I think we need a minimum age for that.
I think so.
Pass the
The
test.
the state is a lot more liberal on wanting people on the lake and
Right.
moving and doing things.
Right?
And the law that they passed, the age 26, it was like just throwing them a bone to give them some kind of law for this. Because if you come from South Carolina, we have to honor South Carolina's rules. So it's like they don't apply here. There's so many ways, there's so many loopholes in that law that they have. I mean, it's virtually impossible to charge it.
All right.
So the law is just real weak, but it does give you something, we look at it as it gives us something to get some people off the lake for the time being, or, gives us some type of avenue if they're not really breaking the law, but kind of being reckless or, being idiots or whatever. And as far as the 16, it's subjective, you look at a maturity point, you've got some 16-year-olds that act 10 and you've got some of them that act 20.
Right.
So I really don't know how to explain it. We don't have a lot of youth out here driving boats
Right.
unless they have an older person on the boat with them. We have teenagers, but I'm not saying young, 10, 12 years old or whatever. So I don't really know how to guide you on that.
well, it's just like this weekend, I saw Grandpa coming by with 6-year-old granddaughter driving. I mean, but he's sitting right there,
Right,
having fun, teaching, nothing wrong with that,
right.
so.
We're just talking about solo.
Right.
They pass that course. Do you think they're qualified after that course?
I think so. I mean, just my opinion, but,
Or
you guys got a
we
different opinion.
got some boats with some big engines on them too.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I know.
That's what problem is. I know me in the boat, and, 10, 12 years old, we've been water skiing 5 years at that point, so.
Well, why don't we just leave it like it is, and no person under the age of 16 operates unless they're accompanied by an adult age 26 or older, regardless of whether the course has been taken or not. I mean, if your target is to not have anyone under 16 operate a boat alone, or no one, it says under the age of 16. So a person age 16 to 25 could operate it with somebody that's age 26, the way it's written.
and/or if they have.
regardless of the safety course.
Right. Yeah. All right, we'll just leave it there, but
I'm okay with that.
I'm fine for,
So just change the 21 to 26 and leave the rest of it as is.
that's correct, but requiring the boater safety course by themselves if they drive it.
Yeah, no, that's not, I mean, you want to add that still.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got a 16-year-old and he's been through the course, he should be able to drive the boat. I mean, that's 16 years old. Another year he's going in the military, so I mean, you know,
And to drive a car.
yep.
Okay, so the second, make the second sentence of that same paragraph is,
Anyone 16 or older who has passed a boat safety course may operate a vessel independently or,
Well, independently, yeah. That would work.
Andy, did you get that one?
Okay, we beat that one. Why don't we, with those changes, do I hear a motion to approve the lake use regulations?
I'll make that motion to approve the lake use regulations with the enclosed adjustments or changes.
I second it.
Motion made by Bob, second by Mary Ann. Any further discussion?
One thing I wanted to mention, in case folks didn't realize it, like I said, this incorporates all those new tour boat rules that were discussed back in June, or back in March, with the exception, like boarding and departing passengers will be allowed access only from commercial landings, with the exception of special events approved by the town manager. A good example of that was recently we had a lot of realtors that wanted to take tour boats over to certain docks and unload there, which was not a commercial landing. But that's a good example of what we're talking about. The other thing that is new is based on the June 5th Lake Advisory Board. We now have added a paragraph under tour boats and a paragraph under boat classifications for tour boats. Tour boats require a concession agreement with the town regardless of the number permitted. So I want to make sure that everybody in the audience understands that. For years, only four tour boats over here have always been under a concession agreement. All the other tour boats on the lake have not been under a concession agreement. And to balance that out, we are now requiring a concession agreement for all tour boats. So that is an addition to this that was not there before. So before we ended everything, I wanted to make sure everybody knew that in case anybody wanted to speak on that part of it. So if that's all right with you. Sure. So.
Okay, now does that include a single boat used for touring requires a concession?
Anybody that has a permit as a tour boat in commercial class 5 requires a concession agreement.
Okay, I just want to clear that for the audience. And also, all those tour boats are not allowed inside the no-wake buoy while touring. And we really need to get that message out.
That's in there.
I know, but I'm saying we need to get the message out now that that's in there. Because we see a lot inside there, and
Yeah, I used to. I haven't seen any lately.
I did this weekend. So just want to be sure to get the message out to them.
Will they stop and look at your house?
Now the cove, they're touring around the cove. It's not my house. I'm just an old shack on the lake.
Motion made by Bob, second by Mary Ann. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Great job.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, the consent agenda. There were a number of last-minute changes to the agenda, to the minutes, and I think, that may have been the minutes for the second meeting tonight. Okay, and with those changes, could I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make
Agenda.
I'll make the motion for the consent agenda.
Okay, motion made by Bob,
I'll second it.
second by Mary Ann. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we skip item number 7. We come down to Number 8, and I'm not sure how to read this. I think we need to get, so it's not a proposed update, it's an update to the Mumbly Ball Resorts non-motorized boat concession agreement.
It's actually an amendment to the current concession agreement. Rumbly Ball has a concession agreement with the town for the rental of non-motorized boats. They are allowed by that concession agreement to have 30. Last year, they were using 39. And that was picked up on, and they were told about it, and it was recommended they come in, if they want to have that 39 or 40, come in and ask for an amendment to their concession agreement. They have done that, and this would increase that current agreement to 40 non-motorized boats. The one change I would recommend is under the wording there, where you see the subparagraph 6 in the center of your page, where it says non-motorized boats for the 2017-18 boating season, or, I would take that out, for the 2017-18 boating season, or, non-motorized boats until a new concession agreement is approved and executed. That's just unnecessary wording in there about the season.
Right.
Because as soon as you approve it, it's in effect until a new agreement
That's
is
correct.
approved. And you don't need the dates and that in there. So I'd recommend we take out for the 2017-18 boating season, or. And,
Okay.
and I would recommend approval of this.
Okay, and so I'll call that a motion made by Stephen with that change, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, and is there anything else to discuss at this point in time? If not, we need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that. Wait a minute, Mark, second.
At our last meeting, Jennifer behind me from the lodge came forward to our meeting and wanted to discuss having a dual permit for the lodge's tour boat, because it's owned by the owner, and it was, Dean said it had been something that was done under Chris Braun before. It was, I don't know how many times or anything, but I think she'd like to discuss that. But everybody on our board was okay with her having or the lodge boat having a dual permit, so that when the owner was on the boat, they could treat it as their own and pull tubers or family members. Her concern is that we kind of put it off. The only concern that anybody had is that maybe have a list of family members or people that were allowed to be on that boat while it was under an annual motorized permit. But her concern is if we put this off until next time the whole summer's gone.
What's the commercial permit on it? What's that for?
It's a tour boat.
It's a tour boat.
The concern was that this language, the proposal was brought up right at the last minute, and we didn't have any language on it. It relied heavily on the town manager to make that decision, so there was no guidance at that point, and that's what I had asked for, was some additional guidance on that. And I understand they need it now. It doesn't do them any good to wait till September, but
And there's no prohibition in the lake use regulations to prohibit that.
The only prohibition in there is you can't change classes. If you register a boat in a certain class at the beginning of the year, you can't change that according to what's in the regulation. And you're not really changing, you're making it a dual class, is what you're trying to do, basically. And you're right, there's no prohibition to that. Do we need language in there that might address it for not only this situation, but possibly for the future? Probably. Is that something that, of course, the board didn't vote, is that something you said they were okay with it?
We did not vote, but I took a verbal head nod to everybody.
Right.
If anybody had any issues with it, and nobody.
Right.
It was news to me at the board meeting
Right.
that this had been done.
yeah.
But apparently it has, I don't know to what extent, but it does exist. And with the exception of, I may have been the one that brought up, if the owner is on the boat, what determines who other than the owner, if anybody, can operate the boat under the non-commercial?
I've started drafting some language for this, and in my draft of that language was the owner and the spouse of the owner. And that way it doesn't keep muddy in the waters the further down the line you try to get with doing that. And
So the owner's brother's cousin couldn't come in and operate the boat and tow people?
correct.
But wasn't there also discussion on, now, if you've already registered the boat as a tour boat?
It
So-
is registered as a tour boat.
So you-
It's for the partners, Tron Partners, which is actually 6 couples, or who would want to use the boat personally.
And there was something about y'all wanted to buy the second permit as well? Or there was talking about payment and how it would be
We would
done?
normally pay for it, we're not opposed to paying for it at all. We just want to be able to get a residential permit so that the partners can drive the boat
Yeah.
if they want to, rather than have a tour guide take them on a tour.
And be able to pull tubes or skiers as
Yeah,
a
because-
residential boat would be able to.
Because commercial boats can't tow tubes and stuff, right?
And that's the way the ones that have done it in the past is they bought a commercial permit and then they turn around and they paid the full face value of a annual permit. And they just had both permits on the boat on top of each other.
So that has happened in the past?
It has.
But just verbal approval?
Yes.
How was it enforced? Did you ever stop anybody to where you had those double permits and?
I did. I stopped one boat because I'd seen them towing, and the first one I seen was the commercial. So I stopped the boat and then got to looking, and they had 2 permits on the boat, and they had told me that it was approved through the town manager to get 2. So I kind of scratched my head, and I went back, and that's when I got to looking. I said, well, there's really nothing here that says you can't do it. But they weren't doing any, wasn't doing anything wrong. It was the owner of the boat that was doing the towing at the time. And just kind of got me to looking around a little more, and I don't see it a lot. But when this came up with the lodge, it brought it back to my mind that it has been done, and I didn't feel comfortable trying to do that without having the proper authority give that permission.
It needs to be addressed for future.
Right.
Okay. Here we talk about the only way that a business owner or a commercial operation may obtain more permits than what is allowed, but that's what's allowed by class for that type.
Right.
So, okay. Yeah, again, I didn't find anything in here that actually prohibited it, and if the owner wants to buy those 2 permits, I'm not opposed to it, but we do need to somehow
Address it.
define it, and, yes, sir.
I mean, one of the thoughts that came out is it's like anybody that's gonna break the rules isn't gonna buy the $1,500, $2,000 permit and then buy a $200, they're just gonna buy the annual motorized.
I got you.
And not come to you and ask them.
I got you, and I appreciate that, honesty.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either.
I recommend having a list and you give it to the officers. And
Well, you've questioned for years, ever since the RVRs and commercial boats came along, I know you've questioned, why can't they tow?
Right, still question that, to be honest.
So,
I don't know why we don't allow, we limit to 1 person being towed instead of more than 2. I still don't understand what the big deal is about towing a raft or person skiing.
Right, and that was in place before I came to this town, so.
Right, we've never changed that.
That's why I was handed, so. yeah.
I'd still like to see our
So-
board review that.
so that's 2 things tonight that has come out that was verbally allowed by the previous town manager. This and the concession agreement on the boats, they were allowed to have more than 30
Right,
verbally okay.
Right.
And are there more that we don't know about, Dean?
We'll probably find some.
As liaison to the Lake Advisory Board, I was a little surprised that 8 years later, I'm learning things that have never been discussed.
I would like to address with the Lake Advisory Board, I'd like for us to direct this issue of towing, to consider towing 1 raft, 1 person, and allowing that. I just don't, you come to the lake to enjoy the lake, you rent a boat to enjoy the boat, and you can't tow your grandchild on a raft or a water ski. And I'm sorry, I'm a grandfather, and if I went and rented a house on this lake, I would expect to be able to tow my
I
grandchildren.
thought you were a great
Well,
grandfather.
it was.
Not yet, I'm working on it.
It was a safety concern that commercial boats that are rental boats may have people renting them that have never driven a boat. They know nothing about our lake if it's their first time here. It just seemed to be something that people were afraid of. And with the growth of more commercial boats and certainly tour boats, I can't imagine a tour boat towing a couple of tubes behind it, but,
Bob, I would agree with you on the allowing them to tow. One thing I could see a little bit of heartburn from is allowing them to tow just one, opposed to allowing them to tow the two like everybody else does.
Right.
Because if I have that boat stopped and I said, you can't have two people, and then I've got boats going by with two people on everything,
I understand.
they're not gonna make that connection as well.
Right.
And so just,
I agree, I don't have a problem with two, I'm just trying to get them one. You know, just.
So you're asking the LAB to take
Yes,
that up?
I think the LAB needs to address this.
Okay, yeah.
Please do. Yep.
As far as the one situation, I am in favor of approving that.
I am.
But we do need also for the LAB to address it for possible language in the regulation.
When y'all gonna get something done over there, you know?
Yeah. So,
the dual permit allows an owner of a commercial boat if they are driving it themselves, and they're gonna
Well, that would take care of
be
those.
taking care of their boat.
That's a good point, it would take care of the ones with the X on them. With this allowed or being addressed, Mary Ann's right, then they would be able, the owner would be able, but still not the renter.
Not the renter.
Work on the renter.
so for the time being, we want to specify just the owner and spouse.
About the 12 people that were in the two bedrooms next to me.
So,
Understand, but
Just for simplification, I know I try to go that way, but we don't ever get there. If Bob has his personal boat, and I call Bob, and I say, hey, I need a boat today, you care if I use your boat? He can let me use his boat. So that's the only thing I'm worried about is specifying only the owner and the owner's spouse.
well, but that's what was requested, was so the owner could use it as a personal boat when it's already registered as a tour boat.
Yes, a personal boat, but I think she can stop me, but I think that's probably, family members or owners of the,
How do you control that? How do you enforce that? How do you verify that? I mean,
Why don't you just have her give you or give Dean the list of the.
that's what we discussed is a list, because the dean would have a list and he would say, hey, what's your name, where's your ID?
okay.
That's just as easy.
So Dean and Charlie both, Charlie would also have
yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying, put a list on the boat, leave it on the boat.
Leave it on the boat?
Right.
How about the wildlife office?
He's after fishers.
enforce our rules.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that.
Okay.
As a business owner, I can tell you that they're not gonna hand the keys to somebody and tell them to go.
I understand. And I'm okay with that. I just wanted to be clear on what we're saying
All
here.
right, could somebody put this in the form of a motion so we can,
Well, I did. I make a motion that we approve the request for dual permits on that boat belonging to the lodge on Lake Lure.
If we approve it for one, we'll approve it for others, right? That's what we're saying?
Well, this is the only request before us, and that is pending more definitive language to be added to the lake use regulations. For the time being, this is the only request. So yes, it's only for this particular situation.
Okay.
I understand what you're getting at. If we're establishing a policy to do it, we do it fairly. Right. But this one's pending more definitive language for the regulation.
Or do we wait until you have that definitive language?
The request was not to wait,
I know what the request was.
and,
I'm very clear on that.
okay.
But I also know that it's a policy and it's going to guide staff direction, so.
Well,
Just
somebody else
know what you're doing. No, just know that you're doing it for
Can we
everybody.
state what we're approving?
That's fine.
And then it can be revised if
That's,
needed.
that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so.
Just know that it's gonna go for everybody. you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's approving for this one situation, the dual use of a, well, dual purchase.
Dual permits, right?
Dual permits. Motion made by Stephen,
I'll second.
second by Bob. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
Hearing any,
Well, I wasn't finished on the motion. I wasn't finished
why not?
because he interrupted me. That's my question. But the motion was to approve it for this one situation that's been requested until more definitive language is established by the Lake Advisory Board and approved by the Marine Commission. And the boat owner will provide a list of operators to Lake Operations, who in turn will provide it to the Lake Enforcement and Lake Patrol.
And I've seconded that.
Second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I apologize for bringing that up, guys.
Yeah.
But on my agenda for the next thing.
And you were out of turn. We had a public forum, and you didn't, yeah.
We're almost adjourned.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Now I'll make that motion.
Motion to adjourn, made by Bob, second by Mary Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next meeting will start at 6:05.
Mark always gets me on that.